So, hi, Matti. So, how do you think personal values influence decision makers when they are making critical decisions for their organizations? And before you go into it, it would be good to get a sense of what do you mean by personal values.
So let me start first by talking about an example. For instance, here in India, many people are vegetarians. I mean, the same applies to Western countries, but here even more so. And there's a set of, in this case, often religious values, but then anyway, values which are driving these choices. And they can be consumption choices, they can be other kinds of choices. So basically, what is it that we think and we believe affects what we are doing in real life. Now, you asked about how does values how are they kind of reflected in decision making. So it's not only that what individual people do, but it's also what they do when in an organizational context. So many important decision makers, for instance, CEOs or judges, they also there's evidence that they also impose their own values in decision making. Now, what we are doing in our research is look at bankers. So in the context of banking, whether they impose their own personal values into the kind of decisions of credit to firms, and we find that yes, the values very much predict that type of decision making as well.
What kind of tension can this create in an organization? And if there are, decision makers with conflicting personal values, so how does that work?
So basically, in any kind of organization, there are different people, and typically there are at least some kind of value differences. Now, if those value differences are very large, and also if because of different values, they are inclined to think that different things are good, then that's what clearly creates tension. So for instance, what we do in our research, so where we look at bankers' decision making, we are particularly interested in their biospheric or green values, and there are some bankers who very much, or most bankers, they tend to have pretty high green values, but then there's a number of bankers which hold kind of opposing values, and they have different beliefs or preferences in what they see is good for the company, they and for the bank, and then they are kind of that drives them to lead kind of recommending different types of companies to get credit. So that's what creates tension. Also, like if there are many people in the same decision chain, so then a person who is later in the chain may be questioning what the decisions of the previous person has been in that chain, and then if they are based on different values, and again that may lead that person to the ultimate decision maker to somehow nullify the kind of the decisions of the other person. So overall, there's a lot of tension potentially coming out of this, and there's some other work in social sciences suggesting that this type of tension is quite harmful for the organization, so leads to less work satisfaction and more turnover, so people stay less long time in the company.
And in your past work, how do you think this could be, facilitated? How do you apply this approach to an organization and see where can you reduce the friction points, or how should an organization go about it? Because, as you said, it's bound to be there, conflicting values within an organization.
Yeah. So basically, an organization typically has some values, and then the individuals who work in the organization also have their own values. So if the organization has some clear values and some think that okay, this set of values is what is best for the company, then of course it makes sense to try to um, when hiring people to try to make sure that people that they hire, they are adhering to the corporation's values, but also that, you know, so that the value conflict will be at least, less, less harmful than it would otherwise be. But again, I'm not saying that there couldn't be any value conflicts. So sometimes it is good to have opposing values on on different matters. So for instance, if I again take the banking context as an example, so there we can uh, think of so many kind of bigger loans they are given, they are extended as a result of committee work. And now in that committee there can be different values, and it's often good to have some kind of a consensus decision. And if everybody is exactly of the same opinion, then having a committee does not provide any benefit. So in like as long as this kind of these value conflicts, they are crippling the organization, then in some decision making formats they can be quite useful.
And what are other personal traits that correlate highly with values?
So values are also correlated with personal beliefs. They may also be correlated with uh, how informed a person is or thinks he or she is. So for instance, in particularly the correlation with beliefs is quite strong. So again, if I take an example from green banking, so one thing is that some bankers, it's not only that they have higher environmental values or green values, but then those who have those green values, they are more likely to also have green beliefs, meaning that they think that financing green firms is a good thing for the bank. Not all bankers think in that way, but basically in this case, the personal values, which for instance, could be reflected in other green matters. So, what kind of respect they have for the earth or nature, or how they personally view about pollution. That is correlated with what they think, how good they think that green things are for the bank. So these things are correlated, and of course there are also correlations, but these are weaker with many kind of characteristics like age or gender. Um, but overall, so values, and this makes it empirically often difficult to disentangle from other effects. So how do we know that it's values and not uh, something else like beliefs? And that's what we try to do in our research, that we have a survey where we are asking both of these things and then can disentangle them from one another.
Okay, so in spirit of the subject, that big ideas, if there was one idea or advice based on all your work, study, research that you think the organizations should apply or be wary about, keep in mind with respect to personal values and decision making, what would that be?
Well, I want to kind of reiterate the thing about hiring. So that values tend to be fairly sticky, so that people tend to hold those values that they have had also in the future. I mean, certainly in adult age. Um, so so in that sense, if you hire a person who has certain values, and if those values affect that person's decision making, then that's kind of a reliable metric of, or relatively reliable metric of what kind of decisions that person may do. And I mean, this is why in the United States, for instance, when choosing Supreme Court judges, why there's so much battle about them, because the judges' decisions are also affected by their values, and there's a lot of guesswork by the politicians who are grilling these prospective judges for the appointments as to what their values would be, so that there wouldn't be any surprises and So that just is a testament about the importance of them in a hiring decision.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Yes.